what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Yeah, buddy, that's right. Get exposure right now. Holler at the homie Paul Match, man, for Paul Match TV. Hit up Paul Match TV across all social media sites, alright? Who we got next? Got next.
Well, hello there. It's Paul Mash TV time again, and we're glad that you could join us for another interview. And as always, the response is getting phenomenal. We're getting more popular, and we want to thank you for that. And if you'd like to contact us, there are several ways to do that. Just go to facebook.com/Paul Mash TV. Feel free to like the page and inbox us, even respond to the videos you see. And you can even email us, paulmashtv, all one word, at gmail.com. And as always, that's not just for fan information. You can, if you're a band or solo artist want to be on the show, you can use that same email address, and we'll contact you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell on YouTube if you're watching us on there right now. And leave a comment on the comment section. We'd love to hear from you there. And we even have an official website with all our interviews on it. We just surpassed 300, so I know you'll want to check that out, and that address will be at the end of the show. And we also, if you want to check one of the first comments on there, you'll also see links to our store. We have Paul Mash TV trucker caps and t-shirts, so we hope that you'll take advantage of that, and we'll see you then. Right now from St. Louis, Missouri, we have Doug Carson. And I don't know if you remember this, but a few months ago we had Ruby Lee Pearson on our show, and he's actually her teacher. And we're going to spend a few minutes with him, so we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, here's another quick word from Click Jam. Don't go away. Well, hello, everybody. It's time for another interview, and with us from St. Louis, Missouri, we have Doug Carson. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we were having a little bit of a problem a few minutes ago, but at least we got it solved now. So,
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad that you're doing well.
The weather here is nice. It's chilly, but it's sunny.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. The first question I usually like to ask my guests is, what started it all with you, especially with playing the guitar? I mean, I'm sure you wanted to play it ever since you were a little kid, but tell us your story.
Well, my mom and dad brought my brother a guitar from Radio Shack, and it cost $15. I remember him saying that. It cost $15. And my brother put it behind the sofa.
Mm-hmm.
It's never took to it, and I guess a couple of months later, I found it, and I played it for several years. I was, I think, 12 years old, and I don't think I realized you could change the strings, put new strings on it, so I literally wore the strings out until they all broke.
Oh, I see. But I guess you were the legendary guitar player you are today, right, Doug? And Doug here, I don't know if you remember this interview or not, but a few months back we interviewed a lady by the name of Ruby Pearson, and is her teacher, and he taught Ruby how to play the guitar, and so that's always good, and I think you picked a very good student, by the way. So
I think so too.
Well, why don't you tell us about some of your influences as far as the guitar playing? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of guitar players that pop out in your head, so why don't you mention a few of them for me?
Well, probably the same as a lot of people. My dad had a lot of Chet Atkins records, so he was a big influence when I was a kid. But then my first love was still rock. I loved Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
then I started listening to country and jazz and blues and classical sometimes. I kind of think of it like food. You want to try a little bit of everything, and of course, there's a lot to be said for maybe focusing on one style, but I never really did that so much. I kind of flitted around from style to style and gleaned what I could from each and every one of them. I like to listen to a lot of flamenco playing. I'm
Mm.
not a flamenco player because that's kind of an ethnic thing. You have to kind of, you don't have to, but it makes a lot of sense to live in Spain if you're going to be a flamenco player. But anyways, like I said, blues and jazz and rock, the normal cornucopia of players. I love Jeff Beck for a lot of reasons. He's a very melodic player. He always zigs when you think he's going to zag. Pop music never really did it for me. And of course, in the 80s stuff, guitar kind of just disappeared from pop music. So that was always, a problem for me as far as the pop thing goes. Usually the thing that really makes me, what turns me off in terms of pop music is the mechanization, the drum
Mm.
machines. I just like the sound and the feel of a real human band. That's kind of where it's at for me.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned a really good legend there, Chet Atkins. It's been quite a while since I heard that name, but I remember growing up with his music as well. So
He was the man. And
yeah.
I met his friend Les Paul once when I was in New York City, and that was a couple years before he passed away. And he's another one that was not quite as much of an influence as far as his playing, but his attitude more than anything. He was just a big old ball of fun. I met him at like 12:15, in the morning after a show. He had done 2 shows that night. I saw the second one, and there was a big old line of maybe 25 people to get his autograph. And
Mhm.
I went up and shook his hand and said, "Mr. Paul, me and my dad have been fans of yours, for a long time." And he grabbed my hand and said, "How is your dad?" And he talked to me for 15 minutes. And I thought, there's a big old line of people. You're 90 years old and you're not going to get to bed for 3 hours at this rate. But he was just a lot of fun. And he still played once a week at the Iridium Club in New York City at the time. But so he was another influence more in terms of attitude than playing. But Chet Atkins was a great influence on me. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. Why don't you tell us about your music, though? I know you said you didn't, earlier before the interview, you told me you didn't have any videos. Do you have any audios at all, like any albums that you may have had?
No, I've done precious little recording. I've done a handful of things throughout the years. I did a Christmas album with some friends a couple years back, and I've played on some other people's material. Um, I play with 3 bands now in St. Louis, and one's a Beatles band called the Abbey Road Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a tribute band. We don't dress like them. We don't look like them. We don't talk with phony British accents. We just play the music. And another one is I play bass with a wedding band called Everyday People, and I have a blues and rock band called the Rocket Scientists. And I also do single gigs whenever I can, just me and a guitar and a banjo.
Oh, okay. Do you? I guess you wouldn't have any of that stuff on streaming or on physical copies or anything like that, because I'm sure people would love to hear that.
No, I really don't have anything on video. I will soon, though. The Abbey Road Warriors played at Powell Hall, which is the big symphony hall in St. Louis, right before Christmas last year. There was a Christmas program put on by the Compton Heights Concert Band. It was a variety Christmas show. And we played, and we're supposed to get a video to that sometime soon. And when I get it, I'll download it to you or send it to you or whatever I can.
Okay.
But really, I don't have anything else recorded solid that I can give you right now. I just don't record much, I suppose.
Okay. Well, that's all right. And we just mentioned video a minute ago, and I know, of course, I haven't seen it yet because I guess it's going to be a surprise, I guess. But I guess you're supposed to be sending me something soon, especially with Ruby Pearson, who I mentioned just a few minutes ago. But like I said, I guess we'll be looking forward to that sometime in the next few hours or something, and then we'll put that with this interview.
Yeah,
Um,
Ruby Lee is something to see. I mean, you got to keep reminding yourself that she's only 12, but she really sings her face off, and she's getting to be a good player, and she's very mature, got a good attitude, and she's got lots of cool love and support from her family. Her dad takes her to Branson and Nashville whenever he can, and they appear at contests and a lot of stuff. She's really amazing. I'm sure if people look her up, they'll really like her singing.
yeah, and of course, as I mentioned, I interviewed her once, and she was a real joy to interview. And like I tell all my interviews, I always tell her, come back if you ever have anything to the plug. So maybe one day she'll make it back on Paul Mash TV. So that'll be a joy to interview her again. And of course, I have to say the same thing to you. I mean, if you would like to come back sometime, even if it's just to plug one of your bands or a song or something, well, we'd love to have you back, Doug.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay. So we'll go to that video and we'll end it here, and we'll be right back for that video in just a moment. Don't go away.
Sounds good.